Welcome everyone to episode 2 of Winning Time. It's your boy Jeremy Boudinet back with Ambition co-founder and CEO Brian Trautschold, bringing you the best insights, excitement, vibes you'll find on any sales podcast in America. BT, how you doing, man?
I think we bring the best aesthetics. I'm very into that right now. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Aesthetics. I like that.
I feel like you got all the positive vibes in life going on right now. We're gonna save that for a personal pod, but I'm psyched to be talking to you right now. You back in the DFW area?
I'm back. I was in Oklahoma yesterday for my fiance's birthday. Don't really advise it as a place to go have a president's club or anything like that. It was
It's
there
you,
wasn't much going on there.
Broken Bow is not on the President's Club top Mount Rushmore sites.
Maybe it's like a bottom places, maybe in 1,000 places in the US even I would go to. Your bomb performers, you send them to Broken Bow if they're struggling.
They have to work
Yeah.
from there for like a week at a time.
This place wishes it could be like Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, but it's like not capable.
I want
Maybe.
I want for the sponsors out there and for the future sponsors, that's a thing that you should be asking Jeremy and I to do. We'll moonlight, we'll turn your non-President's Club location into a hot and desirable President's Club location. Get at us, find us in the DMs. We will help you. We'll help you change it up. I don't know if that's the Chamber
Yeah.
of Commerce. I don't know if that's a tourism committee. I don't know. I don't know who does that. I don't know whose job that is.
I'm down to talk to Chamber of Commerce's. I mean, Asheville, North Carolina hits up like you're trying to blow up. St. Augustine,
Yeah.
Florida. I don't know. You know,
Banff, you guys want the
yeah.
President's Club there? We'll make it happen.
I feel like there's some up and coming cities that could use us to help make that leap into being the next Austin or the next Scottsdale or wherever. So give us a call.
DeSoto County, let us know.
County. Cool. Well, BT, all right. So topic for today, we got, as everyone knows how this works, we do a quick intro segment where we talk about a current event from the week that is pertinent to sales, marketing, startups, etc. And then we have one of our special guests come on. We have a great special guest this week, who you chat with, BT, a young founder, right?
Loved it. Yeah, Shazor, awesome dude.
High energy, good guy. And then lastly, we have our Mount Rushmore, and I love the topic we chose for this week's Mount Rushmore. It is career limiting decisions as a sales professional.
A lot of cautionary tales, stacks upon stacks of cautionary tales that we've either lived in close proximity to or seen unfold, firsthand.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think all of mine are based on personal experience, either myself or someone I'm like very close with went through these personally. So
Yeah. Avoid what we're going to talk about later.
exactly. So let's jump in though. Current event of the week. I wanted to share with you, BT, a tweet from Jason Lemkin, who is the founder of SaaStr. And Lemkin, I think a lot of people know him. He's been around for a long time. He founded SaaStr. I mean, it predates Ambition. It was one of the earliest VCs that really was SaaS focused. Lemkin, obviously a former SaaS founder himself, so sold EchoSign to Adobe way back in the day. And he's always written and talked about SaaS and sales and marketing in a really compelling, smart way. I've been reading him since I first got started. And he's like maybe like the OG of it all, I think, along with like Andreessen Horowitz. But he put out a tweet, which is kind of crazy. It's made a lot of waves where he, instead of having a CMO now, he has a AI CMO that he has built that he calls 10X, that has basically done the job of being a CMO in his mind for him. He's hiring someone to report to that AI CMO. So BT, I wanted to bring this into a sales lens. First of all, what do you think about just doing that in general? And second of all, is that something you could ever see with like a VP of sales, like an AI VP of sales ever being a thing that human reps report into or not?
Well, I appreciate, first of all, Jason Lemkin is, we ride for Jason at the pod, friend of the pod, whether he knows it or not. I agree. He's been great from the content standpoint. I really think he established the SaaS thoughtmosphere, if you will. What I think that here are a couple theories I have, and I think that one is that SaaStr as a company, SaaStr as a business, operating as a kind of like a window shopping model for some great sponsors. And I will get to like the human reporting to the agent in a second. But I think that Jason's doing a fantastic job of kind of like living a world where, how do we make it, how do we describe a world where Salesforce powers all of these agent experiences for us? How do we make it, how do we become like the living testament of those things? And my opinion on this CMO one is it's really interesting to say, what are the responsibilities of a CMO? What are the goal seeking tasks a CMO has to do, or like the recurring parts that support those goal seeking tasks? And I think that, you could make this interesting case that a really honed agent could do a good job of that. In fact, I think there's probably the point that I think this ends up with is you end up with, really you're able to level up people who may not be a CMO, but if you surround them with like really tactical agents that have some more of this guidance, they can kind of operate above their level, if that makes sense, because they're having like these external insights that are coming to them directly. Um, and I'd like to get your thought for a second, but I think, from the sales standpoint you asked about, here's my take. And I think that we are going to have really integral agent experience as part of our revenue orgs. I think there are going to be tasks, responsibilities, reporting, suggestions coming from agents or from micro agents that are really part of the day to day and like interceding, also like redirecting people. But we've talked about this a lot with our enterprise customers at Ambition, and what we see people really saying, and this is anecdotal, but I'd say it's 100% of the time, they want agents that are enhancing and enabling a human manager to be excellent, because historically they don't have a great view of which manager is excellent, which manager is not excellent, which are having profoundly positive impact, which are having negative impact. A lot of the responsibility ends up being passed to the seller or to the individual contributor. And the manager kind of gets to say, scot free, be like, well, I was in there, I was doing this, I was trying to, intervene. And the seller takes all the heat. They get fired or they get put on a PIP. The manager gets a new rep. It's all good. And I think what we're going to see is two things. One is that the manager will have a host of agents or micro agents that are allowing them to manage more people, increase their span of control, but do it at a very high level. And I think that organizations, revenue orgs, are going to look out into their sea of managers, whether they have 10 or 100 or 1,000 managers in their revenue org, and they're going to say, actually, we're going to cut that back. We're going to increase the span of control of our excellent managers, the people who are fantastic at connecting with the sellers on their team, who are fantastic at like delivering feedback, providing a give and take on the strategy, helping to level them up, but they're going to be enhanced with agents to be able to do that. That's what we see. I think that's been validated by lots of customers, and not saying that our customers are looking and saying like, hey, we're going to go cut 20% of our manager headcount tomorrow. But they know the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle exists on their manager class as well as their frontline class. And in many cases, what they're looking for is, how do I get more people at the front line who are selling and who are engaging with our customer and who are building a relationship? And how do we, maximize the managers who are excellent and give some of that spend and that budget into customer facing humans? What do you
Yeah,
think? I mean, you live the marketing world, you've lived the revenue leader world also. Like, it seems like you're not buying it.
I'm not, because well, first of all, great points. I mean, I think that's exactly what most orgs are going to do, is they're going to use AI to augment the really effective leaders, give them more span of control, and maybe have like less specialists around them, but like the AI gives them ability to do specializations. This is specifically a marketing role. But, if you can use AI, you don't need to hire a content writer to write your blog post. You can
Right.
figure out how to use AI to write those blog posts for you, for example. So I think that's what most people are going to be doing. I think where Lemkin's different than most CEOs is Lemkin's like a ingenious marketer already. He can build a AI CMO.
Yeah.
He already knows kind of like what to do. I think most CEOs don't have that capability. And even if you did bring in like a consultant, let's say, to like build that for you, how do you know it's doing a good job as a CEO? Like, what happens when you need to grow and evolve and all that? So you can bring a guy in to go and update it. I think there's too many moving parts to it. On the sales front, I just don't see it. at all because I think people need a leader to look up to. The team misses quote, are you going to fire the AI VP of sales? But like what
It's a
happens?
fantastic question. You're like revert, and then you just start a new version of it. I mean, one thing you
Yeah,
just said there, and maybe want you to expand on a little bit more, but like you think that he can do this, whether how real it is or let's just assume it's real. But he's such a domain expert on marketing, managing revenue teams that he can he's almost like augmenting himself. Like he's still actually the
yes.
CMO, and now he just has like an agent or series of agents in between him and this employee.
100%. Yeah, I mean, the guy's been doing I think it's a small team at SaaStr. He's been doing most of the marketing, I feel like, by content for it for over a
Right.
decade. He's super well versed in the arena. Like, he's not your typical CEO by any
Right.
means. So, I mean, the product he sells is not your typical it's not like
It's
it's a
basically
SaaS.
his brand.
Yeah, it's his brand, so which he's already
Yeah.
spent 12 years building. So, yeah, so I think cool, very noteworthy. He does call out the AI CMO has the ability to manage all of our campaigns and more of our outbound, integrate all our data sources with data on every single member of our community from 10 plus years, joins our team meetings and posts the first Slack update each day, tracks his own accountability in real time to goals and all of our accountability on revenue goals, generates our top 10 marketing ideas of the week and top 3 every day, and manages in part 8 figures of revenue. So impressive what he's built, but like I don't think the average guy is not average CEO is too busy running the business to be able to figure out how to even do all that, let alone do it effectively.
Yeah, it's interesting the idea of like that he is such a domain expert. And I think all of us, and you may be closer to this than I am, who are you're running, an agency that is effectively you, and like how do you scale what you know and how you operate, and like that to me is very parallel to like what really great engineers are doing right now, which is like they have fantastic domain expertise on, certain parts of, the development cycle, whether that's front end, back end, integrations, infrastructure, and like they're allowing themselves to scale a little bit more efficiently with their time. And that's like I think an interesting take of what Lemkin's doing. I'm
Yeah.
still kind of stuck on Lemkin is like he's figured out the hack, which is like none of the big vendors that want to sponsor the SaaStr social channels and use him as a conduit to the community are good at telling the story of how this stuff works yet. It's like, oh cool, we have AI in our product. And he's like, well, I'll just like tell stories about like how I'm using it. Like every week there's another tweet storm about like Salesforce headless experience. I'm like, bro, you're not doing that stuff. Like stop. Like stop. Stop.
It's a
Yeah.
even like his, what's funny is even his use of an AI VP of marketing is a marketing play by him.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
it's him, he came up with it. So, yeah. And
Right.
then another thing too, I was thinking about with like the AI VP of sales, I think why it would never work. It's kind of like right now, like, like you might use Chat GPT or something like that to go and buy you might buy like a micro SaaS product based on what Chat GPT and
Hmm.
website online research tells you, but you're not going out and buying like 6-figure software, with a transactional sales experience like that. And for the most part, I think like when you're recruiting people to join a team and they're making like big career decisions, no one wants to work for, I think, a AI VP of sales. I think people still want that human to human experience of like having that leader, who is constantly selling to them, right? On like how to, stay with the company, how to grow with the company, how to make more money. If you
Yeah.
lose that, you're losing an integral part of what people look for in this role.
I think the career advancement, the career, the development part, it's gonna be really interesting because I totally agree with that. And we, like I said, like in the conversations that we're having with leaders right now, and look, we think about this a lot. We think about how do we take the rituals that happen in a sales manager's day in day out, week in week out, the life cycle of them attacking the revenue goal and the quotas, and how do we take those rituals? How do we really infuse them with these AI agent experiences? And like ultimately, the best case scenario is when we hear from managers about how they're taking the templates that those are and really like customizing them for themselves. Here's what I like to do. Here's the type of information I want to get. And so it's really allowing them to be like the best possible human who's now running those rituals with the most possible awareness and a level of awareness they really, didn't have the bandwidth for or didn't have the ability to go track down the insights. I know you and I used to talk about like sales managers specifically, like they're not analysts. Like they're typically really good people. They're like have a high EQ. They're like good leaders. They're like these kind of fuzzier subjective skills. And they may not be like the fastest gun in the West with a spreadsheet, but like building a great agentic skill with ambition that enhances all of the reporting or gives them like subtle hints that someone's not doing well, that allows them to be a great human in the moment with this great information to act on. So I don't think what we're going to get is you showing up to the office and you remember Interstellar? Do you remember the film Interstellar, Jeremy?
Yeah.
All-time classic, an all-time ambitionite classic. I don't think you're going to show up and there's like TARS is in there. Just like just a 6 foot rectangular robot is just waiting to speak with you in the morning.
I hope not.
He's got his the congenial settings are all the way up. He's just ready to say good morning to you.
Just doing water cooler talks. You catch the game last night. It's like a
He's
robot.
just
Yeah.
like pivoting over to like where the coffee pot is.
Yeah, I think we're a long way from that. Thank God. I definitely think we're in the AI augmented human world right now, and that's the place we're going to be living for the foreseeable future. So, speaking of that, like I want to jump into our next segment, which is founder mode with the guy who's using AI to do some really awesome stuff in terms of like augmented human capabilities in a company, specifically merging data from all sorts of various places into one place so that companies can have all their business data in one place. That's Shazor Khan with Scaylor, who you talked to, right?
Awesome. Yeah. Tap in. I think this is going to be a really fun segment. I think these going forward, I love and I fondly, but also like a little bit of PTSD of reminiscing about like the early days of starting your company or starting a company and what it's like. And it was fantastic. The best part about Shazor was we were like trying to line up the call and he kept having to move it because he was like, I have to do these customer calls. I have to be on this other call. And I'm like, dude, that's what it is. There's no one else. Or you have to go do the thing. And so yeah, here we go. All right, what's up, everyone? This is Brian Trautschold, co-founder at Ambition, and I am joined by Shazor of Scaylor today, calling in from beautiful Madison, Wisconsin. What's up, man?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm thrilled to talk. We were just catching up a little bit earlier, and like the idea of founder time is, frankly, one, this seems like a million years ago for me. It's probably all different and way better now, but like a lot of folks don't know what founders deal with and what it's like and how you guys navigate building a company, creating something that does not exist in the world, and that you're truly, turning into reality by force of will. And so we're trying to bring that to folks out there who are thinking about it, who want to do it, who wonder what it's like. And you and I were connected, and I'm thrilled to get a little bit of a day in the life or a month in the life of Shazor. Um, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm good, man. I've just been getting through it. Like I mentioned before we kind of started this, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin right now. Originally like from Chicago, but I flew in from Brickyard, basically a part of Tennessee, over here. So it's been good. You're seeing me in a rare spot outside, with some friends. But usually I'm sort of heads down in what you would call founder mode, and I just appreciate the opportunity of being part of this.
What you mentioned this, and I think the folks who have not maybe been through a brickyard or are not familiar with YC or one of these other communities, like they may not they may not really understand what it's like. But you were like, I'm in brickyard 95% of the time.
Yeah,
Like give me
yeah,
like a day in the life of you founding Scalar right now.
yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the way just for some context, and I'll kind of throw this out here. Scaylor, we're a data unification company. At its core, we work across a bunch of industries, whether that's the industrials, like logistics, manufacturing, utilities, all the way to hospitality and healthcare. But we're helping companies that are really large put their data together and then be able to query it instantly. And when you look at like a place like Brickyard, they're really representative of a certain time in a founder's life, which is that maybe some of the most earliest stages in a founder's life, which is focused on how do we get you to push this boulder up a hill, because that's what making a startup is really like. It's like trying to push a boulder
100%.
up a hill. And they really want to teach you, here's how you get jacked enough and build an army to really do that. Because if you don't do that right, the rest of it is you're going to be sort of compensating for this boulder trying to roll against you. And so that's how I would describe it. It's sort of a weird analogy, but they're all focused on just helping you go from 0 to 1, put your head down. They describe themselves as like a black site for making a startup. I think that's a little bit aggressive, but I see their point of view.
I could find it. It's visible to me. It doesn't feel like a black site, but yes, it's not a terrible analogy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think about, and this is like, the old guy telling stories from back in his day, but like that initial 0 to 1 phase is almost like overwhelming, because everything is pushing against you. All the momentum is pushing against you, the founders. How do you navigate that as like there's nothing else that exists except what we build and what we do? How do you navigate that like on a weekly basis or daily basis? How do you like get your mind into the right place maybe?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think when you think about really making a startup in the beginning, it is this very real feeling of the world telling you that this thing maybe shouldn't exist, or here's all the reasons why it cannot work, or all of these things, right? And someone once said this, and I think it's very true. Like, we hear this all the time. It's the hardest thing is making your first million. After that, all of a sudden things start compounding, and then what's difficult changes. And I think that applies very aptly to startups as well. And I think like your question was sort of how do you even proceed through that, but you do have to wake up and say, I am going to use the most important piece of evidence, which is every startup is made through the will of its founders, as the leading sort of element behind what I do today. It does not matter what I'm doing. I have to be in 100%. My will has to be cranked up today, and I have to be making sure every decision I make is thought out, it's dedicated, and it has a reason behind it. Because if you do not put your mind on this track perfectly, I promise you derailing is the easiest thing ever you can do at this point in time. So it's really just understanding it's a game of will. That's really all it is, and that's all it will ever be. The more will you have, the better you're going to do in this.
One thing, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on it, but like the game of will thing strikes me as being completely true. And I am no longer a runner, as evidenced by my physique. But at one point in time, I was a little bit of a runner. And like when you run like really long distances, eventually you get to this point where it's like, you've got to just put one foot in front of the other. And it's not even about like, how good of shape you're in, whatever. It's just like, I just got to keep moving one foot. And I think that is like, I think from the outside that people think it's like, oh, someone had this like genius idea and like it just like happened, like it just like it popped into the world. It's like, no, it was like a million tiny steps that happened that they just had to keep doing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's like, that is the reality. You have to, but here's the thing, right? That I think a lot of people don't realize. You can make anything difficult in your life. You can make anything, even no matter how easy it is, difficult for you if you wanted to. Whether that is getting out of bed, making yourself breakfast, or whatever you want. And you can make, and this is a little bit controversial, but you can make some of the most difficult things that much easier if you approach it with a good mentality. And I think it's no different with running long distance, which I've done, or swimming, or building a startup, which is, yes, sometimes it's just to put one foot in front of the other. But the reason why we do that is because we're making the challenge easier. We're just saying, I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And it is it is all of these small things that do combine to make a larger reality. But the way you do that, the way you put each foot in front of the other, the way you do all of these small steps is by enjoying it. You have to enjoy it. You have to be like, this pressure is a privilege, this opportunity I get. And we get to make businesses, dude. That is a privilege a lot of people don't get. You need to enjoy every part of that. All of a sudden, putting one foot in front of the other is going to be a lot easier.
I love that kind of angle of like, we get to build a business, like we get to do this thing and no one's telling us not to, or at least like we don't have to listen to them if they're telling us not to.
Exactly.
Do you
Exactly.
I hear that and I kind of think of like the chip on your shoulder mentality. Do you kind of like try to tap into that? Is that like a thing that you use?
It's actually funny. I kind of have the opposite mentality, and I'll tell you what I
Okay.
mean by that. Um, I was raised in a different kind of way, where when I was told something is unfair to me, I wasn't told by my family and my mom and other people, yeah, hold on to that. You really use that. I've been told the opposite. They've been like, you think life is hard? Life is a lot harder for other people out there.
Yes.
And I think about that every day. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't matter if you're building a company. Building a company is a luxury. I don't care what people say. It is ultimately a luxury, and it is like a legacy in your life that you get to pave, which a lot of people do not get the opportunity to do. And I think, like, there's a lot of aspects in life that are very difficult, whether it's like being a single mom or trying to get through education and trying to deal with health problems. Those are really hard things. This is a
Yeah.
luxury, I think. And I think that, like, you need to remember that every day, and you need to say, I've been given a luxury and I'm going to enjoy it because I get to sort of make my legacy the way I want to. And if you've been given that pen, what are you going to do with it now?
Man, that's a really profound way of thinking about it. Really, a really profound way of raising you to have that mentality. And I love that. I love that that is an opportunity to be doing something that is, you know, challenging and to be given the opportunity to build something for yourself, like you said. Shazor, that's beautiful. All right, we'll wrap it up on this. You're thinking about yourself, or the version of you who has not started yet or who has
Mm-hmm.
not taken the leap or is thinking about doing something. What would you tell them to encourage, discourage, motivate, whatever? What would you say
Mm-hmm.
to that person?
I would say that I'm a firm believer that you only have one life, and the quality of your life, in my opinion, is not determined by how safe it was. It was determined purely by how you by the way in which you were able to make your own story, by being able to say, I enjoyed my life because I did the things I wanted to. And maybe they didn't happen the way I wanted. Maybe they didn't go the way I thought they would. But man, I did the thing I wanted to do. And that is what a good life is. And building a company is the same thing. So to that version of myself, I would say, you could do the safe thing, and it actually has zero value by the end of your life. Because, I mean, unless if being safe is what you wanted, there's no real value add you're going to get. Take the risk and fail and enjoy that you failed. And that is really meaningful to me. And if you work hard enough, you won't fail, obviously. But the value is take the risk. There is literally no benefit to playing it safe.
Man, I think that's great. I think what you said too about like embracing failure, and failure has scale, right? Like
Yeah,
there's like the daily being punched in the face as a founder who's trying to build something, or
yeah,
every the interaction with a customer, your own team, the investor, whatever, is the opportunity to fail or to not not succeed to the extent that you wanted to in that one interaction. But um like embracing that those are tiny things on like a really big scale of the journey or your life or that startup or whatever. I think that's the thing that folks under appreciate is having one. shitty call with an investor and failing, it's like, dude, who cares? Like I've had like
Yeah.
100 of those. Like,
Dude, I've had a million. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I can't more than 100 is probably actually the reality. But Shazor, this was awesome. Really, really, I think really beautiful way of uh, putting this. I know you're super busy. I love that you had to reschedule our first time to talk because you were talking to a customer, which is awesome. Where can people find you or find Scaylor if they want to learn more?
Yeah, I mean, easiest thing is jump to our website, scalar.com. You can book a call actually directly with me if you're interested, and we can dive into if we might be a good fit for your business directly on that. And, if you guys want to get more information about Brickyard, you can help to justlaybrick.com as well, and you'll see some information about us over there as well. But yeah, that's how you can find us and the team.
Man, thank you so much for joining Founder Mode with me today. I'm glad we got to touch base, and have a great weekend.
All right, you as well, man. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. How cool is that guy? I know you know him, and I appreciate you connecting us because it was really cool to talk to him.
Phenomenal. Like some founders are like either I feel like either a technical founder, or you're like a sales founder. He's a combo of both, but he definitely presents like more as a sales founder. The dude can just sell.
He was easy to hang with. He was easy to dig into how he's operating and how he's thinking about life. And I just think it's fascinating. I'm looking forward to doing more of these, hearing people who have different strategies, whether they're doing the strategy like intentionally or they're just kind of figuring out how they're operating. But I find it like refreshing not to be at that phase. Some of us,
Yeah.
we're always making up stuff. We're always building something. We're building this right now, but it's not as stressful as building company from nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. He's in the war zone right now. So over at Brickyard,
Yeah.
shout out to Brickyard, friends of the pod, great VC.
Friends of the pod.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into our Mount Rushmore, BT. A great topic. Last week we did best sales movies. This week we're going a little bit darker of a theme: career limiting sales decisions.
We've seen a lot of trains run off the track in our time across, we've probably collectively worked with many tens of thousands of sellers indirectly or in some cases very directly. I was a little nervous about this topic. I was nervous about the Mount Rushmore we have today, but I'm going to try to keep mine mostly positive or at least instructional. But I'll let you go first because I feel like yours were more, you were like doing confession. You were doing confession while you were getting into the career limiting moves in sales.
Yeah, this is a semi confessional pod for me. I feel like. All right. So first one, classic tales all this time. Blacking out at company events is my first career limiting salesman. Can't do it. No, if
don't
you
do it, folks.
It's crazy, BT, because I was guilty of this back in the day for sure, and obviously like would get scolded the next day and all that good stuff. And you might be able to get away with this like behavior for a while if you're a high performer. But if you're not a high performer, you're definitely not getting away with it at all. Even if you are a high performer, it's only a matter of time. I've also had colleagues recently who have like been like out with like a customer or something like that and gotten too drunk and suffered some serious consequences from it. So it continues to happen. I feel like at this point in life, like you should know if you're like a newfound salesperson, just like 2 drinks at the company event.
Yeah.
That's it. And you're good.
The best piece of advice, and I started doing this, I'll like out myself on a secret. But when we go to big customer dinners or we'll do a big event somewhere, I will do I'll go to the bar oftentimes ahead of time, or I'll grab the waiter off to the side. I'll be like, just bring me like soda water with lime. Like no matter what I ask for, like just hit me with the soda water with lime. And look, I'm not too proud. I'm like, there's no shame in that game because like if you're there to develop a relationship, do it authentically, have fun with your customer, your people, whatever. Yeah, there's like real consequences. I've seen the alternative of these, not you, but like, yes, it's just a bad look. It's a bad look.
Yeah. Soda off lime's a great move. That's my go-to now. So as someone who's been sober for 6.5 years, but because no one questions it. It's like, oh, that's whatever. I don't know what that is.
You don't have to explain anything.
No one's asking what's in that drink of yours. So BT, let's go over to you. What's your first one?
Yeah, I feel like these are pretty good advice, but I've seen this has happened multiple times recently, and it's funny because it became I thought we were past it, but like the Zoom etiquette, the bad behavior while on Zooms, just being like not aware of what you're showing, how you're showing it while you're sharing your screen or while you're on screen share. And look, I'm the first to admit that like I'll be multitasking, I'll be on like another tab, or I'll be looking at something, and that's not great. You can get away with it at certain times, but when you are in just a totally messy room, or your like place looks just like a bomb went off behind you, or like God forbid your like girlfriend walks by and you like touch your girlfriend. It's like, just don't do it. Just like lock in. Whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, like, clean up your spot, be in a good corner, don't interact with characters who are not on the call, just lock in. And I feel like there's too many people who slips by, and it's not good for your career. It's going to set you back.
It's gonna set you back. Yeah, it's funny because I think COVID. I remember during COVID there was this like massive emphasis on having like good Zoom etiquette, dress the part, look nice, invest in like lights and stuff like that, and microphones. There's like a whole cottage industry around this. But I think it's been long enough
For
now where
sure.
like people have kind of like fallen back into their old ways a little bit, maybe. So
I think it's like we're on so many Zooms. I think people just forget. And the flip side of this is like if you're a young seller, or just early in your career, and I know that's like company to company, but it is beneficial to turn your camera on. I know some people are like big on the face mute on Zoom or Teams or whatever, but if you are early in your career and you're just looking focused and like you look like you're paying attention, and once again, maybe I can get away with it sometimes because I'm just there listening. I'm not actually participating in the call per se, but like if you are, it's really helpful. It's really helpful for the people who are talking. If they see your face and you look like you're paying attention, it will get you some street cred with the org.
my next career limiting sales decision is not getting a mentor and thinking that you already know everything. So, I think this applies regardless of whether you're in sales or not, but definitely in sales. I think there's a couple things here. One, like, as a young person in sales, you're going to learn the fastest, like having someone teach you, what to do, how to do it, etc. And then number two, even if you're like an experienced salesperson, I think every sales job's different, right? Like selling ambition is not the same as selling, I don't know, like logistics or something like
Correct.
that. Like if you
Totally.
like Twitch, it's not like you know how to sell logistics or you even know how to sell another software platform. Like there's gonna be nuances to it that you need to learn from. So I think, you have to constantly be coachable and open to learning and like having a mentor that's gonna like continue to like help you develop over time. I think sometimes sellers either early in their career or later in their career, both, they get, caught in the idea of, I know how to sell. I know how to do this, and they really need coaching.
I think that's right. And I think the coaching part is interesting because I think a lot of it is like the lay of the land is different from organization to organization. It's different from how buyers work, like how people buy the solution or interact with the vendors in the space. And, I think that's been, I'll admit, like, I think that as a founder, I think sometimes we're bad, and I'll just say I've been bad about like not seeking out those mentors and just like, we're just doing it. We're just doing it. We're making it up. There's no one, technically there's no one like necessarily above us in the organization, at least when we started. And so you end up in these like you make really simple mistakes that you probably could have avoided if you were talking about them with, someone who'd been around the block or knew the lay of the land. So I think that's a great one.
Yeah. 100%, man. I think it obviously applies in any walk of life, but definitely, I know we've both dealt with that. I mean, when I was director of marketing ambition, I felt like it took me like a year and a half to figure out, oh, I should like call other marketers at successful SaaS companies and like steal their ideas and like learn from them because they know better than me. And like, it's like I improved so much just from doing that. It was unbelievable. So, I think it still applies. So yeah, good one, important one for sales reps. Let's go to your second career limiting sales decision, BT.
This is a little bit of a gamble per se, but buying into too much of the work-life balance hype in any direction. And I'm gonna take both sides of it. But I feel like to get into conspiracy corner for like 2 seconds, I feel like on one side, the work-life balance propaganda industry, which you'll see on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, TikTok, I feel like it's probably sponsored directly from the CCP. The CCP is just pumping out work-life balance content every day to try to slow down American innovation. So don't buy into that too much if you're early in your sales career. Like for the guys and gals out there, like if you're early in your career, you probably shouldn't be golfing like during the week, being like, oh, I just need to get out. Like you should probably just chill. That's a great weekend thing to do. You could do that on the weekends. And inversely, the other side of this coin, I don't think that you should like as a parent and as someone who tries to be like a super active parent, I think you should be able to like make time and like figure it out, figure out what works for you. Because, my experience is the other things that have like rounded me out as a person have made me better in my roles at Ambition. Like whether that's like coaching a 8-year-old sports team or dealing with parent stuff at school, like it's allowed me to either have more empathy or develop as a leader. As some people would be like, how is coaching whatever little sport? But like it really does help. And so I think becoming a well-rounded person and just trying to navigate to the middle versus like leaning one end or the other, which social media and the feedback you're going to get there is like extremes. I think there's like a happy path. So don't buy in too much. Don't buy in too much of the hype either way.
That's a great one. I love that one. I kind of want to pontificate that for a sec because I agree with you about the propaganda. I think that's hilarious. It's Chinese propaganda pushes that way. I remember when we were coming up with Ambition, it was like peak hustle culture. It was like Gary V was the guy, I mean? Like it was like just your Saturday, you need to be at like garage sales, like flipping, buying and flipping stuff on eBay and just work. And I think it's kind of funny because I think for a while there, it actually went to that really heavy emphasis on work-life balance, relax, chill. And now it's kind of come back a little bit towards the hustle culture again. But I mean, to your point, I think it's kind of like a lot of things in life where it's like, go back to like the OG way of doing things. That was probably the right way we did things. Like not like working a pretty hard 40 to 60 hour week, is not like too far in one direction. It's pretty much in the middle and you still have time to have a balanced life outside of it. And, yeah, I think like just default to that for a lot of people, unless you're like literally a startup founder or something like that. I think that's kind of like the way to go. Cause I've definitely been on the burnout side with the hustle culture. I've in crazy hours and I sacrifice my health, all that stuff. And it didn't, you end up paying the cost for that inevitably. So
I think the advice people give is too broad on this and like at the risk of giving too broad of advice. But I like on one hand, being many years into this, over a decade into this business and making other things along the way, like it's a marathon but it's a marathon of life. And like there's times in the marathon where you're like fucking running uphill and like that's what like it's hard to run uphill and it's there's times when maybe you're running downhill and you like can go into cruise control and that's cool too, that's good for you. And then there's gonna be times where it's like, man, I just have to sprint right now, and like those are all true, and like there's no perfect answer because no one's running like the race that you're running. Like you're running your race, it's not just that one job, it's a whole series of interactions and opportunities. So yeah, I mean, basically the advice is take none of this at face value, build your own playbook, run your own race.
Oh, that's actually really deep, BT. Okay, good.
Put that up here. Put that on the wall.
Sounds like a book you're about to write, but it's that for real. Okay, this dovetails nicely into my next one, probably my most controversial Mount Rushmore take. So a career limiting sales decision for salespeople that I've done personally, and I've seen other people do BT. This is why I'm bringing it up, because it's not just me, but getting an Adderall prescription you don't need, getting a stimulant prescription. I'm like hesitant to bring this up because this is like, I mean, it's a work podcast, but like, I actually think that this problem, I don't know how bad it is now, but there was a period where it was rampant in sales. It was like a lot of the sales guys I knew were taking Adderall or Vyvanse or modafinil or whatever. I've seen so many guys fall off that stuff. It's unbelievable. And I myself was one of I was working crazy hours. I was focused. I was productive, but at the end of the day, it's an unsustainable lifestyle. And if you ever get off of it, you basically like feel extremely handicapped in terms of your
Yeah.
capabilities, and your work suffers. As salespeople, it's like, it's kind of being a head football coach. It's wins and losses. You can't afford to
Yeah.
have like a year where you're trying to get back to your normal state after getting off that stuff. So yeah, I think too many people rely on that stuff. I don't think it's necessary for people who don't have ADHD. I think like it for a while was sort of billed as like a superpower for sales reps, but I think a good cup of coffee and, a nicotine addiction is probably going to get most people
That's where
by.
you accept it, and the nicotine
That's
addiction's
right.
fine. Above
Yeah,
that, they're
nicotine
good.
addiction is not, it's not going to kill you as fast as Adderall addiction is. So, that's what I would say. So, yeah, that's my recommendation. Stay away from the prescription drugs if you're a sales professional.
We laugh, but like that's a really like serious one, which you lived through and experienced very personally. And yeah, I think the only thing I'd add, because you're the ultimate expert, you've spoken on this publicly many times, but like you don't need PEDs for your job. Like you shouldn't be in a world, or you shouldn't be in a mindset where you're like, I need to be on performance enhancing drugs to do my job. There's lots of other strategies to excel at whatever your job is out there. And to your point, the risk, like you said, in my experience, far outweighs a lot of the benefits.
Yeah, well said, man. So, yeah, moral of the story: don't get an Adderall prescription if you're struggling. Go and find a coach, find a mentor, and a good coffee brand. You'll be fine. All right, Pete, let's go to your number 3, Mount Rushmore.
My number 3 is a lot of these, at least all of yours, have been very personal stories. This one is my own, and we had a good friend, Nathan Sexton, and I worked together our first job out of college, and we lost him to a battle with glioblastoma. Amazing person, and any rate, we were working at this job selling for a really well-known server and networking company. And we used to be all about fitness in like the dumbest way possible. But the corporate building that we worked in had put a basketball court in like the parking lot of this building. And what I'm getting at is you should respect fitness, health, like we just talked about, mental health, like we just talked about, but you shouldn't respect it so much that you look like a freaking idiot. And every day this summer, or basically spring, summer, while we worked at this job, Nathan and I would go out to the basketball court that was adjacent to the parking lot. This is in Little Rock, Arkansas, so it's like 1,000,000 degrees, and we would just play like one-on-one basketball during like the lunch-ish time. And we would come back in, and I don't know if you've been to those out there who are 24, 25, whatever, any age, honestly, in the southeastern United States. You're not like not sweating. Like you didn't like stop sweating between walking in from the parking lot and walking into your cubicle somewhere else in the building. And we would just be pouring sweat, looking like absolute idiots. And I can't believe we did that. So your personal appearance, how you present, what you are thinking is acceptable. Don't overemphasize like a healthy game of one-on-one on the company basketball court during, the noon to 1 p.m. hour, because
I
I've done
can't
that and it doesn't get you anything.
I can't like I'm still wrapping my head around. I've never heard this story before. So wait, you guys were playing like an hour of pickup basketball one on one, and then going into your corporate, like this wasn't like a startup. This was like a corporate job, right?
It was like workaholics. Like, let me paint this picture for you, Jeremy. Like we're wearing like, the culture there at the time was, golf polos or like button down shirts with like khakis, slacks, whatever. And we would we would legitimately wear tennis shoes, and we would go out in those same clothes, and we would just be getting buckets. We would just get buckets outside. Nathan brought his basketball. He'd bring a basketball every day, and we'd be legit like pouring sweat to the point of like absurdity to walk by. Like I can only imagine what I looked like walking by my desk, which was like one of those like the half cubes, like there's not cubes to like where you couldn't see the person. Like people are around me. And he sat down like a little bit further in a different team, different like section of the floor. And yeah, like I mean, if someone else had like gone to lunch and then came back up and there was just a 23-year-old guy who's just pouring sweat in whatever he was wearing, like it's all out.
Playing pickup in like khakis and a polo is incredible. That's impressive, man.
Truly workaholics.
Really,
For those who've seen the show, type behavior.
yeah, absolutely. You're Adam DeMamp in that show. That's a great call out. Definitely do not. I have a million stories. I won't belabor them, but I've also doing ridiculous stuff and walking in to work without wearing a rain jacket, let's say, and being
I've been the
drenched.
witness. I've been on the other side of that story.
Yeah.
It was shocking,
Yeah.
appalling behavior. Basically,
Appalling
basically be aware. Be aware.
Be aware. Yeah, your physical appearance matters at work. It communicates a lot more than you realize.
Yeah. Are you a human being? Are you
Yeah.
worthy of trust?
Yeah, exactly. So cool. All right. So then this one, my number 4 Mount Rushmore, kind of like the inverse of this, maybe a little bit, is developing too flashy of a lifestyle or developing a flashy life. A classic sales trope here. And this can manifest in a lot of ways. This is manifested personally for me. I'm talking like dating like girls long distance and like flying them in, to my city, big strike, trying to like, wine and dine them, all that good stuff with money I may or may not have had. Just irresponsible behavior. Well, I know guys, we know guys who have made some ill-advised like automobile purchases, let's say. There's like a lot of stories of guys elevating their lifestyle above where their consistent paycheck is coming
Girls
from.
too, gals too. You don't need multiple super nice bags. You may not need all of the fanciest shoes that you could buy because of the commission checks or whatever.
Yeah. When those checks stop rolling in, it becomes hard to downgrade and pull that back to, where it needs to be. So I think that's a challenge a lot of sales guys have gotten into. There's this old adage, it's a big joke, where it's like, you want a sales guy who's like, has a really lifestyle you can't afford because they're extremely motivated to sell. So like companies love this, but like you as a seller, it's very stressful and it's very hard to do your best work when you're panicking over.
Well, I think it, the inverse of that though. And I think that, people who work in organizations where maybe you have a ton of pipeline or you have a really good territory, whatever, but you see this where sellers like, they get like pipeline desperate and they're treating every deal like it's got to close right now. And like all the pressure and like all the tactics suffer when you've created this artificial pressure structure on yourself. And like we have seen firsthand so many people combust or just make bad career decisions because of that. Like they start job hopping, they start doing things that are like short-term maximizing because they put themselves in an unnecessarily stressful position.
So true. Yeah. You become a very myopic thinker. You're mortgaging your future to like cover, the next big payment you have, what I mean? And that's, you end up getting a vicious cycle, or that just becomes the norm and it can happen in sales for sure. So
yeah, I bet sellers are particularly prone to this.
Yeah. Definitely susceptible to it. So, all right. So what's your number 4 Mount Rushmore, BT?
I struggled to say this one, and there's young people. I may take some flack on the socials for this, but if you're early in your career, you're changing, you're going to a new organization, like it is career limiting to be too weird. Like you can't be too weird. And once again, like I think individuality, people should do whatever they want. They should be into whatever they want. But I know you and I, we've worked with some people, we've encountered people, we have, been, 1 degree separated from folks who go too far. And the weird spectrum is big. You can be weird and you can do a lot of things and be different and be unique. And people love that. And people find those unique perspectives. They find people with great experiences. But, if you're one of those people who, is speaking to senior leadership at the company and you're early in your career and your first thought is to like tell them about how that one game in high school where you excelled in like some sport. Like, that's weird. That's weird. Like, they don't need to hear about it. If yeah, like if you're doing that same thing, there's a big meeting and the customer comes in and they're telling you about, their family went to a baseball game this weekend or whatever. And you're like, oh, I went to such and such festival and I did, Huasca this weekend. Like, you don't need to do that. That's not good. Like, compartmentalize some of the weirdness or the passions to those other places. Because if the first thing out of your mouth to the senior executive or the customer who flew in town is like, there's energy plants underneath the pyramids, like, you've lost some credibility out of the gate. That's a high risk move to start out. You can't go straight to conspiracy corner or high school football highlights or my life as a festival bum out of the gate. Those are things maybe someone earns their way into with the relationship development, but it's not cool. It doesn't work to be weird out of the gate, is my advice to the specifically the young folks.
Yeah, for sure. Like the niche passions and like parts of your personality, like they're great, but you don't need to bring those, make those a focal point of conversations in a professional setting.
They become the defining things, and you probably don't want those to define you. This is a little bit of parent corner here, but like, you don't want to be known as the flat earth guy or gal in the office. You might want to be known as like the amazing salesperson and like, maybe also a little bit flat earthy, but like no one needs to know that in the office.
I think in general too, and this is because this is so prevalent, anything regarding politics or whatever, like you don't need to bring, you never need to be the guy who brings that up. Especially like we had, I'll give you one anecdote of that. We were on a call, we were customers, big time customers of an agency when I was at Nextiva, and they brought up, it was a very hot button political time, and they brought up something on the call that they thought like we were all going to be about.
It was a whiff.
Side. A little bit, none of us were about it, and it was like not a good thing for them to do, and just unnecessary, like an unforced error. So like we didn't care to talk about it all. So yeah, I think anything that's polarizing or niche or whatever, just you can leave
that. You got to leave that at home. You got to leave that in the parking lot.
Yeah, if you want to go home and get on 4chan or Reddit or Instagram or whatever later and talk about, go for it. But
yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's exactly right. Like, weird enough, unique. Too weird, no good. Too weird is like now your defining attribute.
Yeah, exactly. Well, great advice to young sellers too, because I think they may not know all this stuff going into the workplace. So good stuff, BT. All right, great. Mount Rushmore. Avoid these career limiting decisions as a sales professional. Please stick to the try and true methods. Go read the Ambition blog if you want some like advice for what to do. Yeah.
Be cool. Act like you've been there before. Listen to people who know what they're talking about. Pretty simple.
Yeah. 100%. So listen to your sales leader. He's not AI yet, thank God. So
matter of time.
Just a matter of time. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. BT, any final thoughts for the crew?
It's been great. We appreciate you all listening. Shout out to the sponsors. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next week on Waiting Time.